Hi, how are you today? I'm Susie Sanders, and you're connecting with the Alchemy of Alignment. And this podcast is all about purpose. So, a quick shout out to D Type, who are supporting our podcasting adventure. And I've got a force of nature in the Zoom room with me today, and we're going to be spending some time chatting with Sarah Damani. And Sarah was Alchemy Virtual Assistant's very first franchisee. She has built a thriving business. The growth that she has experienced in such a short space of time is truly remarkable. And before you joined Alchemy, Sarah, you were a business advisor, weren't you? But I'm going to just thank you for being here today. And I'm not going to do any more of an intro because I want to hear the words from you. So when you're not running your business, where is your focus going?
Thank you, Susie. Oh, that's a great question. I think for me, one of the main reasons that I started my business was to have that focus on my family. And the business affords me so much flexibility that I can do that without feeling like I have to sacrifice things. Um, it was one of the main drivers for me in starting my business. Family. Yeah.
Family. That's what it's all, what makes the world go round.
Family and putting myself first, really important, so that we can be the best parents, the best mums that we want to be. You do need to put yourself first.
Yeah.
And I think I'm quite good at that.
Amazing. You're so right. You're so right. Some wisdom early on. And was there anything I missed from your intro? Because you do have a bonkers busy life. You're a mum of boys. You seem to have a new pet every week, every time I check Instagram. So you used to be a retained firefighter as well. So yeah, you're a busy woman.
Yes, I used to be a retained firefighter, and it was something that I was so passionate about and filled me with a huge sense of purpose. I felt like I was really giving back to my community, which was something that was important to me. But again, along the lines of putting myself first, being a retained firefighter to me was a reason that I had to get in the gym every morning. I had to keep myself in good condition and good shape, good levels of fitness, and also being a role model to my children. So I suppose it's all encompassing. It all goes full circle.
Amazing. Yes. And okay, let's dive in then. Let's dive in. Let's talk about purpose. And I would love to know how your sense of purpose has evolved as your business has.
I think to start with, why you think you're starting a business and why you actually start a business can be really different things, because as your business starts to grow and you're able to provide opportunities for other people, you're able to help and support maybe different types of clients to what you originally thought you were going to be working with, or doing different tasks to what you originally thought, a VA might be doing. I think as all of that happened, I found more and more purpose, more and more reason and fulfillment and satisfaction. Being able to create opportunities for others to join me and have so much fun, as I was doing, was incredibly rewarding. But it also was incredibly great to build that community. We were able to come together as a team and work together and enjoy what we were doing and bounce off each other and, bring ideas together, different ways to grow the business. So I think for me, the reasons that I initially started my business for flexibility and for being able to put my family first and never having to say no to attending the assembly, all of those things absolutely tick, 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 give you a huge sense of purpose. But the extra things that you don't even realize, the extra reasons that you don't even realize, the extra clients that you're going to be able to work with, the incredible level of responsibility that those clients give you, it's really rewarding. And I am really proud to say that alongside some of my clients, I consider myself to be one of their really well respected, trusted business partners.
Oh, and that you mentioned some beautiful things there in terms of, the original reasons for your establishment of your business and the fulfillment, the reward. You mentioned putting yourself first. So can we crack into some of the challenges? What are some of the kind of day-to-day stuff that are hurdles that you've got to overcome in that sense?
Keeping yourself accountable, keeping yourself on track, not being distracted, making sure that the activity that you're doing, the actions you are taking are creating traction in your business. I think sometimes I used to see it myself a lot as a business advisor in talking to entrepreneurs, and they would quite often get distracted or be worried about things that are unnecessary. And if they actually focused more on that, that money making activity, they would have far bigger impact. I think it's, as that sort of life lesson always tells us, of if it's outside of your control, then don't worry about it. Control the controllables. And those are the things where you should place most of your energy.
Some solid advice there. So it's the accountability, the focus. And have you found that? I mean, you said flippantly earlier, you're really good at putting yourself first, and I would agree. I admire you for that. But do you think you found that putting that accountability, if you found that naturally quite easy when you've been building your business?
I think I have found it quite easy. I've always been quite a disciplined person. I don't think it would come naturally to everybody. And it's something that you can work on and can get better at. Yeah, I think when I first started this business, the highs were higher, the lows were lower. And that's not necessarily a good thing. I think you've got to try and find this sort of happy middle ground to be able to keep going, rather than hitting these peaks and these troughs in your business. They will have more impact on you. I think they will if you can try and ride that wave a little bit more steadily, then that will have better effect on keeping you more grounded and more resilient and determined, and therefore more focused.
Yeah, I love that. If I'm the same as you. I'm incredibly probably too self-disciplined in some areas of my life, but we're all works in progress. And I think it's that riding the wave, the balance. To me, that's really important for the future sustainability, but for the joy as well.
Yeah.
I saw somewhere about a pendulum, when the capacity, when you're higher, the capacity to fall lower is bigger, right?
It's a bigger drop, isn't it?
Yeah, and so much faster. So what are some of the things that have helped you with that on your business journey? And then I would love to take us back in time to talk about your business advisor role as well. But what are some of the things that have helped you?
I think personal development is something that I discovered very early on in life. I think I was very fortunate to come across personal development so early on, because I think had I not discovered that, I wouldn't have believed in myself, in my potential to run my own business. And I would advocate personal development for everyone, not just business owners, because I think that will really help you to become a better person. They say 10 pages of a good book every single day, and a year on, you won't recognise yourself, and it's really true. I would also highly recommend something that you recommended to me, Susie, right at the beginning of my journey, and that was creating myself a folder in my inbox for awesome feedback. Because on those days where you just need that boost, where you didn't get that client you were really hopeful for working with, or you haven't managed to hit a deadline for whatever reason, or you just feel a bit the weather's not great, or something's just gone wrong, or things are feeling really tough, that folder of awesome feedback will help you to take stock and reflect. They say you shouldn't look back. I disagree. I think don't look back and dwell on what happened, but definitely look back and celebrate the successes and use those to push you through those challenges. And again, something you always say to me is, if it's feeling really difficult, then it's probably likely there's a big change coming, that, you know, there's a leap coming. And I completely agree with that.
Oh, I love that. I love a feedback folder. I love a feedback folder. Really valuable. And I'm glad that you found it. So, because regardless, everybody has days, right? Everyone has challenges. So thank you for sharing that with us. And I think I'd like to jump back, because not many people know how we met, because we met when you were a business advisor. And I think I pretty much spat coffee on you in shock of our final meeting. So what was life like as a business advisor? Because you were working with lots of small businesses, entrepreneurs, accessing funding for them, giving them support. So what was it like?
I loved it. It was a really interesting role, and it was part-time. It was like my dream job. I absolutely loved it. Going along, meeting really interesting people that had the balls to go and start their own business. And a few times I sort of sat there drinking a nice posh coffee somewhere in a cafe that I hadn't had to pay for myself. It's always good. And thinking, is this really work? But sometimes, just occasionally, it would cross my mind of, wow, if you can be successful and do this thing called running your own business, then I think I might be able to. Not meant in a negative, like, derogatory way at all, but just thinking, wow, you're inspiring me. I could probably do this. And you're not so different from me. Maybe I could have a go at running my own business. So I think there's something wrong if you're a business advisor and you don't want your own business. I just don't think that matches. Like, I'd always wanted my own business. I just never really knew what my niche was, what my opportunity might be, what I'd be good at. And when I was introduced to you guys by one of my colleagues, and it was the first time I'd ever even heard about what a virtual assistant was. It wasn't a term that I knew much about. And I think, looking back, I had met other virtual assistants, but they never really called themselves virtual assistants at that point. It wasn't really a really common phrase, I suppose. When I met you and you sort of explained a bit more about the business, I was just like, maybe that's it. Maybe that's my opportunity, because this is what I love doing now. And as a virtual assistant, I can still do all of this good stuff, because how much value would that add to someone in their business, having, you know, a business advisor turned virtual assistant to support them in growing and scaling their business? And I just thought, that's kind of the next step in the evolution of me. You know, it was the time Reese was just starting school, so timing was perfect. And I think I had been openly sort of looking to explore what opportunities are out there. I had looked at other franchise opportunities as well. My sister at the time was running a franchise, like a messy play franchise. And I could recognise and see how franchises were an amazing opportunity, especially when you're not an expert in that industry or sector. It's a really good sort of step in. Yeah, and I remember that meeting at the Costa Coffee in Next at Riverside, and I've been sort of thinking, oh God, this is really unprofessional, but I need to speak to Susie. And I sort of left it to the end of our conversation thinking, probably shouldn't do this in work time.
You know what? And I was just thinking, I need to clarify for anyone listening that it was a complete shock, a horror moment. I was like, that's why the coffee came out of my mouth. I think I felt like it did very fast, because yeah, we were chatting. I mean, the value you gave us as a small business with big ambitions was insanely valuable, and we'd got a good relationship. And yeah, when you kind of were like, well, I'd like to be your first franchisee, I was like, what? Okay. Because we'd had such a frank, honest conversation about where we were, who we are, and where we were going. I totally took me off mark. But I love that it did. Love that they did. And no one got hurt. We were all, so
Yeah, it was great. And it all just fell into place. And I think for me, it was like, I want to be the first. I need to be the first. And that's why I was like, now is a good time.
yeah.
I don't think there ever is the perfect time, but it needs to be the right time.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in the right time never existing. You've got to create it for yourself, haven't you? You've got to make
it's never going to be perfect. There's always going to be a reason not to do it.
Yeah. So you mentioned then you are being continually inspired by other businesses that you are meeting, and you weren't new to the business environment. So what significance did your purpose play in that decision making at that point, if any?
I loved what I was doing, and I'd done that for about 3 years at that point. And there were changes ahead, changes sort of on the horizon within the organisation. And it wasn't a guarantee that I was going to be keeping my job or that I might be moving to another organisation. And you can never guarantee the flexibility and that you're going to be able to put your family first. And I'd had a lot of time off with my boys. I was very fortunate that I was able to take a lot of time off with them over maternity leave and extended maternity leave, because I got made redundant whilst on maternity leave and I wasn't in a rush to go back. It had to be the right opportunity. And I think at that point, when you're hitting potential redundancies or changes within any organisation, I've seen it a number of times where people play the victim and they don't like the change and they're very worried about it. Well, for me, that is an opportunity to take the matter into my own hands and be in control of the situation. I'm not into politics at all. Like, I have no real understanding of politics, and this isn't going down. It's just, I firmly believe that we shouldn't be relying on a load of politicians to be looking after our lives. That's why I was like, I need to do something for myself, and now is a good time to do it. It's not the perfect time, but it's the right time for me to make the changes. And from there, I would then feel like I would be able to keep what's important to me, keep hold of my purpose and not lose the person that I was becoming.
Amazing. Well, I applaud you for that. I really do, in so many ways, because it's so easy to not take things, as you say, there's always a reason why you should not do something. There's always an excuse you can tell yourself, or a reason you can tell yourself. So sitting here now with me today, what's been the highlights, the greatest things? What's coming to mind? Because I know there's been a lot.
Yeah, there have been a lot. And there's so many different things. I think the growth of the business has got to be up there with one of the best things, because the growth of the business, particularly through lockdown, as virtual assistants, a lot of opportunity was created. And that's not to say that I didn't panic like everyone else. Absolutely, I did. And I just started a business as lockdown had happened. But the growth of the business allowed me to create more opportunities for other people that potentially were going to be impacted by lockdown. And with that, bringing on new team members, I was then able to take on more clients. And we as Alchemy grew a hell of a lot as well, over the last few years. And I think becoming part of that bigger community has also been a huge highlight. And I love sort of feeding back and helping, the other hub managers within the business to be inspired, or helping them find a way around challenges and hurdles. And again, that gives me enormous, sense of pride and purpose.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because lockdown cracked so much open, didn't it? And I know from my perspective, there was always a lot of resistance around working virtually, remote working, from all types of businesses. So there was, you're right, Alchemy did have a huge period of growth amongst all the uncertainty. And that was one of the big things for me. People were like, oh, okay, this works. Yeah. And then throwing in all the other economic uncertainties, long cash flow projections, long term weren't looking good for businesses, but they still needed support. And equally, people they fuel their entrepreneurial spark in times of challenge, during recessions and things like that. More businesses are born. So you've mentioned pride a couple of times. So pride, purpose, like how do those two things play out for you?
Well, I think having a sense of purpose or being proud all feeds into your inner self, your health and well-being. If you're in a good place and you're feeling proud of yourself and your achievements and of your team and of your clients, then that's all really positive enforcement, isn't it, of what you're doing and where you're going, and that things can be hard, but actually if you're feeling that inside, and that will all just keep you going.
Yeah,
I think it's if we have got real purpose to ourselves, rather than just going out, doing a job and bringing a paycheck home so that I can put food on the table and maybe occasionally treat my kids to a day at the zoo. That isn't having purpose, is it? That's not about the bigger picture and wanting those children to grow up grateful and having the right attitude and developing those skills that are going to be set them up for life. I think when you have got purpose, you're just all round a better person, I think.
I will agree with that. I will agree with that wholeheartedly. And I don't think it's again, it's another beautiful journey, isn't it? And I know my sense of purpose has evolved, shifted, deepened, along with my business adventures as well. So really beautifully put there. And you've mentioned your boys a lot. What's their understanding of what you do?
I think they've got a fairly good understanding, because especially with lockdown, they were here a lot. Yeah. I don't know if you remember.
I do.
They were here a lot. They were having online classrooms, and they're often in and out. We get back from the school run and I'll get the vital snacks in place, and I'll just say, I'm just going to go and finish off, a quick hour in the office, and they'll often pop out and they'll hear conversations. And I think Zane especially has got a really good understanding. He's picked up some really cool, using Canva and stuff, and he's got like my Canva account on his laptop, and he loves using that to do his homework with. And I think they sort of realise that I do a lot of different things and know a lot of different stuff, quite randomly sometimes, across a lot of different industries. And I always like to tell them about some of the interesting people that I've met, and they thought I was really cool when I went along to meet up with Lena's, who one of the owners is David Beckham, and they convert Rolls Royces into electric vehicles. Well, that was pretty cool, wasn't it? That was a cool day at the office, and I made sure to get some pictures and share and talk to them about the kind of things I'm doing. But I would really like to inspire them to go out there, get a bit of life experience, and realise that you've got to work hard. And then I'd love to encourage them to start their own business. I think it's really important to do it in that order. I don't think you have to. I think if you've got a family business, great. But I think it's really important to get that initial work experience and realise that it's not a walk in the park.
Yeah.
To really appreciate running your own business.
Yeah, I agree. I went straight into the world of work when I left school. And that's one of the things that I'm most proud of.
Yeah.
Even at that age, I was like, there is nothing that I'm interested in enough to go and study more. I want to know it all. I want to experience it. I want to do. So I would agree with you on that, in that vein. So if there's anyone out there that's like, well, the timing's not right for me, and they're thinking about starting their business, what advice would you give them?
I think ask yourself, if not now, then when?
Mm.
Because if you do have a pipe dream to start your own business, what is it that's holding you back now? I think, okay, fine, if you want your own business and not exactly sure what you want to do, then maybe that's the reason to hold off. But I think if you have a really good idea and you know what kind of business it is you want to run, then I would just, what is it that's holding you back? Because you'll always find a reason to keep putting it off.
So you mentioned before, when you started your virtual assistant business, it wasn't as well known as what it is now, which I believe is a really good positive thing. And obviously you're more immersed in it now. And what are the main benefits that your clients receive from having your business supporting them?
I think initially, before lockdown, businesses were sometimes a little bit hesitant to outsourcing. However, in lockdown, we were all working remotely and no one had a choice. So that was one barrier, hurdle gone. The next one was that all employees were therefore then at home in their pajamas. So was I, but no judgment. But employees at home are getting a paycheck and they just got to wiggle the mouse to make it look like they're doing something. Whereas when you're outsourcing your work to a virtual assistant, that's their brand, their reputation, their business on the line. They will make sure that the work is done and they will probably go above and beyond to over deliver. And that's what I feel I do and my team do. We get to know the business owner. We work with them generally 2 years on average, I would say. And we get to know them, their business. We're working across lots of other businesses as well. We see opportunities across clients. We see opportunities that they may not have considered because of our background and knowledge and expertise or talking to each other. And we can bring so much more value. We've got eyes on their business and we're walking around as if we are employees of their business. And it's not just for those hours that they pay us for, the 10 hours a month, the 15 hours a month that they're paying us for it all of the time.
Yeah.
I get a daily podcast email and I'm always reading through it and I'm considering all the different clients that I work with and everyone in my network for opportunities for them. So it's having those extra eyes on your business. I think we become an accountability partner. We become a sounding board for them. We become a business partner. We can be a full outsourced office solution. We can do whatever they need us to do.
So glad you mentioned that because they're all the things that sometimes, in my experience, people don't always identify as being something that a virtual assistant can do. And it's that true vested interest, isn't it? The productivity you'll get, I think the knowledge you get as well from somebody who is, in your case, an experienced business owner supporting multiple businesses, that consultative approach, that accountability, that sounding board, that stuff's so important, isn't it? Particularly to smaller or solo entrepreneurs. So I'm really glad you've mentioned that.
Yeah, and we don't know what we don't know. And a lot of the time, if you're in your business, running around, running your business, you just haven't got the time to go out there and do the research. And it's not even just the research, is it? You might not even know where to look. And when you do come across the information, you might not have time to digest it properly or even understand it. And that's exactly where we can take the time, digest the information, put our recommendations together, support people. You know, we're working in their business as part of their team, so we can apply for grants, you know, on their behalf, essentially. We can help them with mapping out systems and processes. We can see gaps in their business. We can just keep them on track. They started their business because of the things they enjoy doing, and it's not necessarily the running the business bit.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's not just the time, it is that headspace as well, isn't it? And that someone to be able to put some suggestions to you instead of having to think about it yourself. And it's, you know, we've only got so much capacity in our brains. So what do you love doing then?
The types of tasks that are like my absolute favourite is anything to do with strategic. So I love analysing data, producing reporting on the back of that data. I'm a huge Excel geek, love it. I've also recently learned Power BI, and I love that. It's another tool in my toolbox. I think it's great. I also really love helping people, but utilising ChatGPT, because ChatGPT is just one of those tools that is AI and it's fantastic, but very much the input will impact the output. So you need to be asking the right questions and using the right prompts. It's not a case of it's just going to take over and do our job for us. We're still always going to need that human element, at least for now anyway. And I recently helped a client answer a 45 question tender. I completed that in probably 2.5, 3 hours using the force of ChatGPT to say, this is some of our previous tenders. Here are the questions for the new tender. Can you help me draft? And I created, you know, a draft responded tender within 2.5 hours, whereas 45 questions of a minimum of 500 words per question, well, that's a week's work, isn't it, really? And so I was able to provide this to my client and say, here's a start. It needs checking, but it's definitely, you know, the skeleton bones of your application. Get going, and blown away.
Yeah, it's remarkable, isn't it? And you're right. You're absolutely right. I don't think AI is replacing human empathy, creativity, but it's making things easier, right? So
much easier, so much more efficient, much more productive. And I think if your competitors are using AI and you're not, they've got the advantage and you're going to lose out, because they're going to be able to over deliver in the client's eyes. Another example of AI, I've recently taken over supporting with strategic marketing for a client, and educating ChatGPT, feeding it some information and asking it to do me some posts based on this outcome or that industry or that client or these services. And again, probably 2 hours, about a year's worth of content came out. And again, if that's not a good investment of your time, then look to outsource it to a virtual assistant, because we can do it exactly the same way in a really efficient manner. And a year's worth of content would have taken me, I don't even think I could think about doing a year's worth of content. It would just like blow my mind a little bit.
I was going to say, it's not the time, is it? For me, that's the energy and the brain power. And and it's being able to put those things to other use as well, isn't it? So love that. So to take us back to your purpose, if you were to sum it up for us now, where you are on your business journey, what is your purpose?
My purpose is to create interesting and exciting opportunities for other like-minded mums. Doesn't have to be mums, but anyone who's looking for flexible work, around their children, who doesn't want to sacrifice that. And also to my purpose would be for my clients to deliver outstanding VA support that's beyond VA support, because VA support is a label, but we do so much more than just VA support. My purpose is to help my clients grow their businesses, because in turn that rewards me. It rewards me in terms of them increasing their hours, but it also rewards me in terms of they're happy and I will get nice feedback, because it's so much more than just money.
Yeah.
It's about the impact that growing my clients' businesses means that they can take on more staff, and they're going to recommending to other clients. That's a huge I've forgotten the word.
Compliment.
The greatest compliment.
The greatest compliment, right?
Greatest compliment. Yeah. Really is.
Yeah.
Because we don't recommend things we don't believe in.
Absolutely. And there was an example I had ages ago about your best mate starts a business. You're perhaps not going to have had a direct experience of that business, but you are going to celebrate them and you are going to recommend them and you're going to shout from the rooftops. And
that's the right attitude. But does that always happen?
It does and it doesn't. I think it does.
I think that's the attitude that people like us have, Susie. I think that is the right attitude. That's exactly what should happen. If we all did that, the world would be a much better place, right?
There we go. So just before we wrap up, because I like a tangent. So what else would make the world a better place? Or at least the business world?
Would make the business world a better place.
I mean, I haven't worked out how to clone you yet, because I think that that would have an impact.
I think it would have an impact. I'm not sure it would be great. What would make the business world a better place is just if, when you ask people for testimonials, they gave you them freely, because they would realise how impactful those testimonials are on your business. And really, it costs nothing, and it just takes 5 minutes of your time. So if you've been asked for a testimonial, please go out there and give it, or just as a nice deed, go out there and give one freely, of the last great experience you had, because that would definitely make someone's day. It might even get them a new client.
Oh, I love that. That's such a real, kind, wholesome end to our conversation today. And I'm just going to say that, not even if you've been asked, just go out there and leave a recommendation or a testimonial for someone. I used to do that. I used to just randomly leave LinkedIn recommendations, because it's just a nice thing to do and it makes you feel good. And you're right. You might get somebody a new bit of business. So
it's just a nice thing to do, just good deeds for people. My other half laughs at me about this all the time, but I'm often just out on the high street shopping. Who does that anymore? And I'll stop someone and say, I really like what you're wearing, or I really like, and he's like, men can't do that.
Perhaps they should. I think that's really important.
I think that's I think it's a nice thing to do, and it costs nothing, and it would just make the world a nice place. And it's reciprocity. If we start doing it, it will come back to us and it will make us feel good. Yeah.
More compliments. You've just reminded me, my son, when he was learning to ride his bike, which was a very stressful experience, and he finally got it and he was gone. No idea where he got it, just gone. And then this little old couple come around the corner and they were like, oh, is that your son on the bike? And my first thought was, oh, what's he done? He's a good kid, but he's wild. I was like, what's he done? And then they were like, he's a credit to you. He's an absolute credit to you. I think he didn't run them over, basically. And that made my day.
And what a simple gesture. Yeah, We should all do more of it. It would just make the world a better place, and it costs nothing.
There we go. There we go. More compliments. That's what the world needs. Sarah Damani, thank you so much for giving up your time and your headspace to be here. We'll pop some links and stuff in, but what's the best way for people to connect with you?
Well, our Susie here has just made an incredible Are You Ready for a VA quiz. So I think that would be a really cool link in the comments. But other than that, come to our website and you'll find me.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And before we close down this episode, I want to thank you for being here and listening and absorbing and connecting with us in this way. If you want to let us know what you have found most valuable from our conversation, that would be great, because we are making this podcast for you. This is all about purpose and sharing and shining a light on the amazing people that are in their entrepreneurial journeys, taking on those challenges, going to those high mountainous places and coming back down again. So thank you for being here. Thank you, Sarah, and I'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you.